Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Bebop here. Today's video is going to be for those who stop by my Twitch or maybe in the YouTube comments on the videos and ask about the Rapier. I'm just going to go fully in depth in the Rapier. I know I've had a couple different Rapier videos here lately. It's my favorite weapon in the game. I main it mostly. I mean, some people would say the Musket, but actually I guess the Musket is my favorite gun in the game. So, but the Rapier, that's what we're focused on here today, okay? I'll have a separate video for the Musket. Now, the Rapier, it's a little bit complicated, okay? It's a weapon that's kind of unlike any other weapon, right? It's a weapon that has really 3 different builds you can go with on it. It's a weapon that complements by another person using the same weapon, but in a different setup, in a different skill tree. So it is confusing. I want to try to clear everything up. So what I did, I came to Brightwood, all right? It's the only dummy in the game that I can get to show you fully the evade and everything. So I'm up here. At the very top, there's this dummy right here, okay? Now, why am I here instead of a fort? Well, I can place this tent right about... Ooh, it's going to be tough. I might not get it on the first try. Right about there. Let's see here. Okay, that's perfect. So, now that tent, I had to find some flint, is on the right shoulder of the dummy, I'm going to be able to show you evade without sliding off. And that's the thing about evade Rapier on dummies. It's very hard to test damage because you're going to be sliding off. And also, this dummy takes a while to regen health. So, now, if I evade, I'm not going to go to the side of the enemy. Now, that that's cleared up, let's go over attributes. Okay, I was playing PvP last night, so we are not on those specs. I'm going to take a powerful honing stone here. I'm going to take my banana pudding, which is a 44 food, not 48. And this is what we're going to go with. I'm not in a team, so I don't have leadership or anything like that. So we're going to test some damage here, and I'll explain the skill tree. We're going to start off with the evade Rapier build. So I have nimble coat on. So I will be 5 con. A lot of people will have attuned leather pants. So they'll be, you know, they're going to start off 15, 15, you know, all across the board, basically 15, because it adds 10 attributes to every, you know, attribute. And so you want to go 350. The main thing is you want to go 350 dex. You want to go 25 focus for the extra 5% ability cooldown reduction. And then the rest, you just go into intelligence. Now, if you want some con, you can do some con, but if you're going to be Rapier player, learn to play at 5 con as best you can. You'll get knocked every now and then, but no big deal. Everybody does, even the best player in the world. So here we are. Weapon skill tree will look exactly like this for every evade Rapier build in PVE. I will be going over this as far as PVE. I will cover PvP at the end briefly. I'm not a huge PvPer, but the Rapier is used in PvP, but in a different way. All right, so evade Rapier, right? Deal 30% increased damage on your next light or heavy attack by performing an ability. Ends on hit or after 3 seconds. That's huge, okay? So basically you're going to do an ability and then a light attack. Ability, light attack, ability, light attack, ability, light attack. Some people will classify this as ability, auto, ability, auto, ability, auto. Auto is another word for light attack to the veteran players. So the evade, you're going to end up being in charge of your own empowerment. So you don't have to rely on Oblivion and all that being down as much. You have Flurry, so you will select this last dot to apply to bleed. So if you do have a bleed Rapier player in your group, you're basically going to be applying a bleed every time you flurry. The bleed Rapier player will only have to stack 2 bleeds and then pop on 2 instead of 3. Now, that may be confusing to some of y'all who are new to the Rapier. It may not make sense. I will try to make it make sense as much as possible. With the Rapier, you want to stack bleeds, okay? As far as if you're bleed Rapier. The point of the Rapier in most, or in every PvE group, is you want to have the bleed Rapier stacking up bleeds and popping them with the ultimate ability on the left, because with him stacking, or with you in combination stacking 3 bleeds and him popping them with flourish and finish in this ultimate, he's basically going to hit 30 to 40k in that one hit. Okay, that's big damage. Now, evade Rapier is the fastest damage and I believe the most damage. So if I was to time myself taking down this dummy, the evade rapier should be faster than the bleed. But those in combination will melt mobs. You'll see a lot of speedrun crew melt mobs with this setup. And I can link you to a channel with, you know, Schmeck and his crew. He often plays. There's another crew called the Barcode crew, both on Valhalla, top 2 speedrun crews in the game. And you will often see them use 2 rapiers and then a spear main player as the DPS. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to evade to get your empowerment, light attack, flurry, light attack, evade, light attack, flurry, light attack, evade, light attack. That's all you do. What's that middle ability used for, Bebop? I'm glad you asked. Well, basically you just pose like a sexy model out here. Woo-hoo! But that's going to block 100% of any damage coming into you, okay? So if the snake boss in Tempest or, you know, whatever boss or enemy is about to hit you, all you do is just pose, and that's going to block 100% of the damage. You won't take any damage, and you're going to return a hit, which will stun a lot of enemies. Okay. Which will stun a lot of enemies. Now, you can have Sundering Riposte on your clothes, but really, it's not going to matter if you have a full group that's going to be applying all the rend and be a rank cap pretty much anyways. That would be more probably beneficial in PvP. So, once again, you evade, light attack, flurry, light attack, evade, you evade, light attack, flurry, light attack, evade, light attack, okay? Evade, light attack, flurry, light attack, evade, light attack, flurry, light attack, evade, light attack, flurry, okay? That's very simple. That is the easiest rapier setup that there is. That's why I want to cover it first. Now, we're going to go to the bleed rapier setup, okay? Also, if you play with the rapier in this game, the artifact rapier is BIS. It's going to be the best, okay? Most people will have kingly empowered, not thwarting strikes. I put on thwarting strikes when I used to play rapier with Nature's Wrath because it had higher bleed pops and more damage, in my opinion. So I still have it on there. I just haven't changed. It does just fine. Not worried about it. Now, if I were you, I'd recommend just going KE, Kingly Empowered. But when you proc your Kingly Empowered, make sure you don't use your Heart Rune, and make sure you don't switch weapons or anything like that. You will get rid of your KE, your Kingly Empowered. Now, there is another rapier out there that is very usable in this game, and these are the only 2 rapiers you're pretty much going to use, okay? There's a third, but it's very rarely used. And I'll explain why. Now, the Life Ring Rapier, okay? You get this Life Ring Rapier. It comes with Vicious and Rogue. Now, where do you farm this at? You farm this over here at the, you go to the Elysian Shrine in Eden Grove, and you come down here to Torto Riven. That is in Eden Grove, right here. That is a elite Angry Earth area. You need a group to be there, and that is a excellent weapon farm. Probably one of the best, if not the best, in the game. Once you do that, you take this Life Ring Rapier, you go to the Gypsum Kiln, you spend 3 chromatic seals and a weapon matrix and some other stuff, and you will put omnidirectional evade. No questions asked, omnidirectional evade on the weapon. It's 20% damage 2 seconds after using evade. Okay, so this is very powerful also. So you would evade, light attack, flurry, light attack, evade, light attack, flurry, light attack, and that's what you would do. But now you have Vicious, Rogue, and omnidirectional evade on your weapon. So if you have Pestilence or anything like that, or if you want to use Artifact Ice Gauntlet, you can really stack up some damage this way if you don't have the Artifact Rapier. Now, if you're going up against a boss without a back, let's say Scylla and Laz, Chartis and Laz, the Snake Boss in Tempest, and I'm talking about the Chartis without the hand strength, guys, for the veterans here. Don't freak out and write in the comments. You could use something like this that you can farm. Keen, Vicious, omnidirectional evade, okay? That would help you get more criticals on the last boss, let's say in Genesis. And it would also have Vicious and omnidirectional evade. Now that's if you didn't have the artifact Rapier, okay? So those are 3, that's basically explaining the 3 different rapiers that you can use. How to farm the life ring. You always want to have a life ring rapier as backup, especially if you're going to do, let's say, a need where you have ancient enemies, you have corrupted enemies. You get 2 of these. The ancient enemies, you can run one with, let's say, a topaz in it. You could do lightning harnessing in your armor. And then when you get to the corrupted part, since you don't use any of those gems against corrupted because they're most weak to thrust, you basically just put a diamond in there. You should always have leeching flurry as a perk on your person. That is the most OP perk in the game, in my opinion. I mean, there's probably something else out there, but I mean, it's just insane. So let's go back to the artifact rapier. This is also, I pair it all the time with the musket. You could pair it with the ice gauntlet. You could pair it with the fire staff, which is very rarely used, but only in Genesis and PVE M3s. All of them will do just fine, but the musket, I always like pairing it with the musket. I can just roll up with the power shot, roll into the powder burn, and I got all that bleed going on for 9 to 14 seconds as I'm doing my rapier stuff. Now, in dungeons like, let's say, Tarn, it would be better for me to get rid of shooter stance, since that will get you killed a lot of times in Tarn, especially on the troll boss or the final boss. And you could go sticky grenade right here, which is really good against certain pools in Glacial Tarn. You could go traps and have a musket with movement speed, so you can get through that tunnel that's very narrow that a lot of people die in really quickly, and things like that. So, you know, so applying slow for 8 seconds is really good too, because anybody that has attributes spec'd into doing more damage to slow, stunned, or rooted enemies will be doing more damage to those enemies. So it's up to you what you want to do here. This is usually how I spec it, and I just worry about getting the power shot into the powder burn. Stop making noise. All right, let's go to bleed rapier, guys. There's 2 different ways to set up bleed rapier. We're going to spec into intelligence. Now, there's only one way to spec into it for stats, and this is exactly it. So you go 350 int, 25 focus, 232 dex. Now you want to select the skill tree, and as you do that, we're going to still pick flurry down the tree. We're going to go ahead and pick this dot right here. Deal 10% more damage when your stamina is below 40%. Deal 10% more damage when your health is full. Since you have leeching flurry, it will be full a lot. Critical strikes also reduce cooldowns by 5%. You will select this dot, reduce all rapier cooldowns by 1% on any hit. Deal 5% more damage to targets with rapier bleed, because you will be stacking a rapier bleed when you hit the last hit. Had some audio issues here, so I'm going to do a voiceover. 10% more damage to targets above 50% health. Then you're going to select Tondo. When applying a bleed, it basically reduces cooldowns by 10%. If you hit only one target, even if it's blocked, 25% reduction in cooldown. Then flourish and finish. This will deal 50% weapon damage, stagger the enemy, and push it on back. It's going to also follow up with 120% direct weapon damage on the thrust attack. It's a 2-part attack, the swipe and then thrust. And what this is going to be so beneficial is, once you go down the tree to the ultimate, you're going to be popping those bleeds for 150% weapon damage. So we go down the tree here, we get extra stamina, and each tick from the bleed reduces cooldown by 3.5%. Finish deals 150% of the rapier's bleed damage instead of only 110, and that's what's going to be important. So this is the traditional bleed setup. Order them, you know, whatever order you like your, you know, buttons to be on. And then what you're going to do on 99% of the enemies in the game is you're going to flurry first, then Tondo, then flurry, and then pop your bleeds with the flourish and finish. Well, if you come across an enemy that does not have a back, let's say Scylla and Laz, Chartis and Laz, and yes, I know there's the hand strap veterans, but I mean traditional how Chartis was, and you know the Snake Boss and Tempest, then you would start off with Tondo, because that would increase your critical chance 26%. But 99% of the enemies have backs, so you'll start off with Flurry, and you'll get your highest bleeds and damage with Flurry first. So you would go Flurry, then Tondo, and then Flurry, and then you would pop all 3 bleeds.
So here's the 26% critical chance that you see here with the Tondo. So that would apply for the enemies without a back. Now I run thwarting strikes on my Rapier. You can feel free to go keenly empowered. You'll do more damage that way, but I used to use Nature's Wrath. So anyways, never changed it back. Flurry, Tondo, Flurry, and you see the 3 white bleeds right there, the numbers, those are all bleeds. Those are what you want to stack, and then popping those are consuming those with the flourish and finish, and they all pop for 150 times damage. So you saw the 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. Now, if you pop those immediately, you're going to be popping those bleeds for more than 5,000 something. You'll be around 8,000 something. So here we go again. Flurry, Tondo, Flurry, and then pop. 8,700 times 3. So you see the big damage that the bleed Rapier can deal.
So basically in that setup right there, that is 26,000 damage in that one hit. So once again, apply a bleed, apply a bleed, apply a bleed, and pop. Boom. 8,700 times 3. So if you're facing a backless enemy, you Tondo, you Flurry, you Tondo, and then you pop. It won't be as much damage as the Flurry, starting with Flurry first, because one, you don't hit much with the Tondo, then you only get 1 Flurry in the cycle, and then you're only Tondoing again. So you're not going to do as much damage to a backless enemy. But I mean, technically you're going to have more chance of critical, so your cooldowns are going to be better, and you're going to do more damage that way to a backless enemy. But you don't want to start that on non-backless enemies, 99% of enemies out there. So once again, Flurry, Tondo, Flurry, pop. 9,000, 9,000, 9,000, because now the enemy's health is getting lower, so I'm going to be doing more damage. Now, there is another bleed Rapier setup, okay? This will be a little bit more advanced here. Trying to think if I've missed anything here so far, but now this would be the evade bleed build, okay? You're going to select these 3 dots. Just get used to selecting all this. And now you'd pick evade to here. You pick these 2. Okay. So now individual successful light attacks reduce the cooldowns of this ability by 30% each. 20% haste after using evade through an enemy attack. Evade forward, increasing damage 15% on your next light attack. Okay. So now you will stack the bleeds again, but now instead of relying on other sources for empowerment, let's say Void Gauntlet putting down Oblivion, now you have your own empowerment when you evade. See that empowerment? So now you're in charge of your own empowerment, so you'll be able to stack up higher damage bleeds. So now you can evade, light attack, flurry, light attack, evade, light attack, flurry, light attack, evade, light attack, flurry. And now pop those 3 bleeds, and it's 9,600 times 3. So that's 28,800 damage. So that's what, 2,600 more damage than the other way with Tondo. Now, where is the negative side of this? Why don't more people use this? Well, people like the weakening of the Tondo, and in mobs, Tondo, in my opinion, is a lot better for mobs. This is a lot better for bosses. So if your group is really good at taking out mobs, I would just go with this setup. Also, you're in charge of your own empowerment. If the healer goes down, you don't have to worry about them putting down Oblivion. And this is going to do the most damage and the faster damage of both of those, either the traditional bleed or the evade bleed. So once again, you evade, light attack, flurry, light attack, evade, light attack, flurry, light attack, evade, light attack, flurry, stack those 3 bleeds, and then pop them immediately. 94, 94, 94. Now, with this setup, you want to have omnidirectional evade on your clothing. That way you do 11% more damage when you evade, okay? And you're still using the artifact Rapier. So that's going to stack your damage. If I do this with Life Ring, I won't have to have the omnidirectional evade on there, but my stats are going to be off here, so I got to change stuff. Let me go back to 350. Because the Life Ring Rapier is spec'd in Dex. It is not Magnify. So be cautious of that if you're switching them, you know, mid dungeon or whatnot. You need to have other pieces to fix the disparity. So now I go evade, light attack, flurry, light attack, evade, light attack, flurry, light attack, evade, light attack, flurry, and then you pop them. So you see the life ring. Man, come on, bro! I'm trying to do a video. So you see life ring rapier is a little bit less damage. So evade, flurry, light attack, evade, flurry, light attack, evade, light attack, flurry, and then you pop them. And 89, 89, 89. Not as much damage as the artifact Rapier. Now, I don't know if Rogue's fully proccing on this thing or not. I would assume it would be, but the artifact Rapier is just the best rapier that you can have. Now, speedrun groups will run life ring rapier, and they will do it with, let's say, pestilence, because it's going to apply a nature dot also, and that's going to be really good and more DPS than having a musket. But if you get pestilence, you have to grind the PvP track, and I'm still waiting to try to get that. So I'm grinding right now for pestilence, and that is one of the best artifacts in the game. So that is the evade bleed build. Also, you want to make sure that you are maxed out in refreshing 4 out of 4 when you're using the rapier. You want to make sure you're maxed out in refreshing because you need the cooldowns as quick as you can. Okay, it's the highest DPS weapon in the game, and you want to make sure that you're constantly doing abilities. So the nimble coat is the number 100% most important artifact to get if you're going to be a rapier player, because not only am I maxed out with refreshing, but on top of that, highly refreshing reduces max cooldowns by 8%. So not only am I getting 16% reduction in cooldowns here, you add another 8%, which is 24% reduction in cooldowns. It's just insane. So that's why I'm able to basically non-stop attack without having to auto if I'm traditional bleed with the Tondo. It's just everything's fast and ready to go. It's just insanely fast. All right, we're gonna go over the rapier for PvP. So I'm not hugely familiar with the rapier much for PvP, but a lot of people will run flurry. They will also run this dot, 3% stamina on any hit. They will also run riposte, and this is gonna make you 100% immune to any damage that's coming in, and stagger, stunning the enemy for 2 seconds. Riposte successfully hits a target, gain in power, increasing damage 10% for 3 seconds. Reduce the cooldown of other rapier abilities by 20% when landing a riposte counterattack. Increase the stun to 2.5 seconds. That's huge. We're going to go with Freshe. And we are basically, you can select that dot if you want, but you're probably not going to be killing anybody if you're trying to run away. Or maybe you're trying to catch somebody. So maybe you can kill them, and that will reduce the ability cooldown by 80%. You don't really need these two because you're not probably going to try to strike unless you're playing it offensive. I see mostly people use the rapier for defensive purposes, not offensive, so that's why I'm going over it as defense. 3% haste on any rapier hits. So if you combine that with flurry, you're going to stack up and be maxed haste out, and that will help you get away. Deal 10% damage when you're full health. Critical strikes reduce rapier's cooldowns. Deal 10% more damage when your stamina is low. They can go with this if they want. After they perform an ability, they can hit you with the light attack. Deal 10% more damage when your target's above 50% health. Reduce all rapier cooldowns by 1% on any hit. Deal 5% more damage to targets with rapier bleed. Now, you can also do this. Increase damage from both sides of the middle swipes in the light attack chain. This one you won't ever pick with a rapier, so don't worry about it. You're not doing a heavy rapier. Okay, you're not ever hitting with heavy. And now you can either choose to go down here. Does more block damage in case they're blocking. It reduces the cooldowns. Each hit of flurry reduces cooldowns by 5%. And or you could have selected, these two right here, where you can do a hit if you're going to play more offensive and do some damage that way. But most of the time, I will see people use the rapier like this in PvP, so they can basically get away from an enemy. They can block an enemy, return a stun hit, and then they can flurry to get their cooldowns back and then get right back into getting away from you, or leeching health with leeching flurry.
So keep that in mind. This will go right through an enemy, not necessarily a dummy. And then if they go ahead and hit you with the flurry, they can get health back and get their cooldowns back faster. And then they can riposte hits, stun you, and then they can just go ahead and get away. So good luck catching them. You'll see a lot of healers do that, and they are fast, okay? If they have the winged leather boots on, then they will extend their haste duration or their increased speed by 50%. And if they have alacrity amulet on, it's going to extend the duration by 33%. I believe it's 33 or 36% of their haste. So people are very quick with that setup. If you're a healer, you can look into that. Now, that basically covers everything with the Rapier. I'll have a separate video for the Musket because there's a couple different ways to run the Musket. But hopefully I covered everything here in this video and it wasn't too long. Hopefully you learned something. If you did, feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see y'all in the next video. If you have any suggestions for one, feel free to leave them in the comments. I will answer all comments, and I do stream live daily on Twitch. Feel free to stop by. All right. Thanks, and I'll see y'all later.